Are US-Iran talks about to cement Iran's golden grip on the Strait of Hormuz by trading de-escalation for Tehran's leverage over the world's oil choke point? Gulf states are increasingly worried as Iran's missiles and regional proxies are sidelined in truce talks, while the agenda narrows to uranium and shipping lanes. Is Iran now using Hormuz like a nuclear weapon, a non-nuclear tool with nuclear-scale impact? Putin aides warning stokes Gulf security fears. A warning by former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev crystallized fears among Gulf states, after he suggested that reopening the Strait of Hormuz might be the main outcome of current Iran-US diplomacy. Medvedev warned that reopening the Strait of Hormuz may be the most Iran-US talks can achieve, falling short of the wider de-escalation that regional states consider essential. The Putin aide shared his remarks via the social media platform X on April 8, describing the strait as a critical source of Iranian leverage in the conflict. Medvedev's X post read, quote, "It's not clear how the truce between Washington and Tehran will play out. But one thing is certain. Iran has tested its nuclear weapons. It is called the Strait of Hormuz. Its potential is inexhaustible." Unquote. This comes as the next round of talks in Islamabad is expected to focus on Hormuz and nuclear enrichment, with negotiators centering discussions on maritime access and uranium limits. Such a limited agenda would fall short of the broader de-escalation that Gulf states regard as vital, including curbs on missiles, proxies, and long-term security guarantees. US Arab allies want the negotiations to tackle Iran's missile program and its network of regional proxies, not just technical nuclear issues and shipping lanes. Gulf officials warn the current approach risks cementing Iran's grip on Middle East energy supplies, by managing rather than dismantling Tehran's leverage over Hormuz. At the end of the day, Hormuz will be the red line, one Gulf source told Reuters, highlighting that control of the strait has become the central strategic concern. It wasn't an issue before. It is now. The goalposts have moved, the source added, indicating that Iran's use of Hormuz as leverage has changed Gulf threat perceptions. Some Iranian officials also privately echoed this view, casting the strait as a golden asset, a tool that can be used to pressure both regional rivals and global powers. A senior Iranian security source said, quote, "Iran prepared for years for a scenario involving the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, planning every step. Today it is one of Iran's most effective tools, a form of geographic leverage that serves as a powerful deterrent. The strait is a golden, invaluable asset rooted in Iran's geography, one the world cannot take away precisely because it flows from Iran's location." Unquote. Gulf officials also highlighted the limits of relying on the United States in a war against Iran, Reuters reported, pointing to Washington's focus on narrow objectives and domestic politics. Gulf Arab rulers had long warned the US against a full-scale conflict with Iran, yet largely remained silent in public, avoiding open criticism even as their private concerns grew. This restraint reflects uncertainty over conflict they would help pay for but do not control, experts say, with Gulf states exposed to economic and security risks while key decisions are made in Washington and Tehran. The UAE has been discussing ways to secure a financial backstop from the United States to help shield its economy from further turbulence. These developments were reported by the Wall Street Journal, which cited high-level meetings between Emirati and American officials as the source. During those talks, Emirati officials raised the idea of establishing a currency swap line with the United States as part of a broader protection plan. If approved, such a facility would allow the UAE central bank to access US dollars in moments of extreme market stress, when funding can suddenly dry up. With this mechanism in place, the UAE could support its own currency or bolster its foreign reserves using US dollars drawn from the swap line. The Wall Street Journal says the UAE is seeking this kind of security in case the war with Iran deepens financial stress on Abu Dhabi's economy. At the same time, officials have stressed that these discussions are still preliminary and that no formal swap line request has been submitted yet. Securing a swap line backed by the US Federal Reserve could be challenging, given how carefully Washington guards such privileges. Historically, the Fed has reserved these kinds of arrangements for economies that share deep financial links and robust institutional ties with the United States. In moments of global stress, Washington has occasionally extended temporary swap facilities to a broader circle of countries to cushion systemic shocks. According to the report, the UAE might not automatically qualify for such a swap line facility under current criteria. As an alternative, the United States could choose to deploy its Exchange Stabilization Fund, a powerful but less used financial tool. The ESF can provide loans, guarantees, or other support to partner economies, giving them breathing room during periods of heavy stress. So far, the UAE has avoided a full-blown economic fallout from the Iran war, thanks to strong buffers and careful management. Prolonged disruptions, especially in choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, could dent dollar revenues and put pressure on foreign exchange reserves. Emirati officials have also hinted at switching to alternative currencies, according to the Wall Street Journal's account of the talks. If access to US dollars becomes constrained or too politically costly, the country may feel forced to switch part of its trade into other currencies. In that scenario, the UAE could begin conducting some of its oil trade and other major transactions in Chinese yuan as well. Even a partial shift would chip away at the US dollar's dominance in global oil markets, at least temporarily. This move would also dovetail neatly with China's broader push to internationalize the yuan and expand its role in global finance. Oil and gas infrastructure in several Arab states suffered major damage during the conflict, including critical facilities in the Gulf that were hit or disrupted. The IMF has said recovery timelines in the Gulf will vary by country depending on geography and how quickly exports can resume, indicating that some energy systems may face a prolonged return to normal operations. Ras Laffan, the complex responsible for about 93% of Qatar's LNG output, has been shut since early March according to reports about the disruption at the site. An estimated 3 to 5 years are reportedly needed to restore Ras Laffan to full capacity, according to reports citing damage assessments after the strikes on Qatar's key LNG complex. In Bahrain, several homes were damaged in Sitra. Industrial sites, including aluminium-related facilities, were also reportedly targeted. At least 2 civilians were killed and 2 others were injured. Saudi Arabia faced repeated attacks on Riyadh and the eastern province. Reports said 2 civilians were killed. 1 US service member also died. At least 12 American soldiers were wounded during the attacks. Qatar came under repeated attacks on key sites and important oil and gas infrastructure. 4 Qatari servicemen and 3 Turkish nationals were reported killed. Some of the casualties linked to a helicopter crash during the conflict period. In the United Arab Emirates, fires and visible damage were reported in Abu Dhabi and Dubai. Civilian infrastructure, airports, ports, and industrial locations were affected. Petrochemical and aluminium-linked facilities were also reportedly attacked. Deaths included 9 civilians and 2 military personnel. In Jordan, falling debris caused material damage. 1 American soldier was reported injured. A strike was also reported on a US-related site in eastern Jordan. On April 14, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for stronger ties between China and Arab states during a conversation with Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Khaled bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. She made those remarks while speaking with the Abu Dhabi Crown Prince, underscoring Beijing's effort to deepen its regional relationships at a moment of heightened instability.